Ready? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all elected board members and our student rep are present today. Flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have addition, we're adding Charlie and the gym floor,
Yeah,
correct?
discussion of where we're at in that. We're expecting a fifth and final bid tomorrow, but we'll let Charlie update that.
Let's add that in after the approval of the TSA trip request.
Okay.
And then we're adding an executive session, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Collective
And-
bargaining and evaluation of personnel.
And then Isaac had the wonderful idea, let's move the cheer and basketball up to right after Cameron, so that they don't have to sit and wait forever. So do I have a motion to approve the updated agenda?
You have a motion to approve the updated agenda.
So moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comment. And we timed this and it's 58 seconds now, so is that good? Our board has adopted policy procedure 1400P for meeting conduct, and this policy and procedure are available on the school district website. If you would like to speak, we have a sign-in sheet by the door. It's here. If you guys didn't get to sign in, just let Kayla know. The total time allowed is 30 minutes. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment period is the only time that the public is recognized to speak. This is not a time for dialogue between the board and the public, but rather an opportunity for the board to listen to individuals on educational issues, and board members are encouraged to listen attentively. The board chair or superintendent might ask a speaker a clarifying question or respond to a specific comment. If you have a specific question or issue that you would like the district to follow up on, please let us know and someone will contact you within 72 hours. Finally, please remember that your words have impact, and you, not the school district, are responsible for your words. We ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. And we had no questions last public comment that needed to be answered. So we'll move right in and let's see. Jeff, you are first.
I just put a piece of candy in my mouth, so if I choke, come rescue me.
Brandy's here, but you're.
Greetings to the board members, administration, and public. Thank you for allowing me to publicly comment. I'd like to start by addressing social media, and that I hope the district adopts measures that keep well-intentioned individuals from posting misinformation on Facebook. Misinformation can test trust and relationships. This past Saturday, we drove down into the new transportation facilities and enjoyed a hot dog meal prepared by well-known chef Charlie Weaver. It's truly an outstanding building, and I'm sure Charlie and others enjoy working at this new addition. As great as those new facilities are, I really believe education is more about academics and experiences rather than just possessions. Tonight, some of those experiences include the TSA, HOSA, SHS cheer, and the boys basketball team. Like many others, I strive to do my best to improve academics and experiences, but I need your help and support. As a tutor, I spend few hours, often just minutes, every week working with students, helping and encouraging attendance, improving grades, mentoring, and most of all, just being a role model that looks forward to seeing the students in and after school. I thank Brett, Kim, Blair, Pete, I saw him back there, and Quinn for these opportunities to help. In addition, I volunteer an hour to an hour and a half each day that I'm there. Wish there were more volunteers available when we need them. Recent grade reports show there's more work to be done. You know, there's a lot of Fs, a lot of students with Fs.
When you say a lot of students, can you clarify?
as far as how many Fs or how many students with Fs.
Yes.
This is strictly at the middle school. I'm showing a total number of students with Fs at 200.
200 students with Fs?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Outside of helping the students, I've met with parents that have faced challenges within the district environment. As I told Dan at a meeting recently, more or less being a liaison or outreach specialist. I ask and I hope the district would fund more hours for the successes I've seen, as well as other classified positions to improve the academics, trust, relationships, outcomes, and experiences here at the Sullivan School District. I can't think of a really bigger priority. I'll leave you with this. If a few minutes can make a difference, imagine what a few hours can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Richard Kinnison.
Afternoon, good evening, everybody. Richard Kinnison from Gold Bar. I'd like to take a portion of my time to address the kind of the toxic environment relationships we have going on between the board and the community right now. It's an issue that's been plaguing us for a while. We've been bringing it up for years. It doesn't seem, or I haven't seen as much that's gone into trying to improve that as I'd like to. It's progressively gotten worse as of late due to the interactions and treatment that the district and board have with community members in person as well as on social media. We've had multiple people come through and talk to me about when they bring up genuine complaints to the board or the superintendent, the district office, they don't feel like they're getting the attention that the situations require. We always preach about parents getting more involved, always telling us, hey, we need more parents involved, we need to do more. Well, when parents are doing that, you shouldn't be necessarily jumping on social media to try to harass or bully them, or even encouraging other people to harass or bully those parents who are actually getting involved. I've shown you some of those pictures and that proof, Dan, in our one-on-one meetings that we've done. Because you can't really claim to be against bullying and having a solid bullying policy for the district if your own board members are doing that on social media to parents who are being active. Another issue I brought up with Dan recently was kind of how the board seat selection has gone. We've had issues in the past, concerns in the past where people don't feel like our board is made up collectively of how it should be. The board recently had the opportunity to bring in more community members who have kids in the school district. And instead they chose to go down kind of like almost a nepotistic selection process, only choosing board members who have spouses in the district. I don't see, as well as others, don't see how we the public can have faith that the board's being fair and impartial with issues like the carrying out the collective bargaining agreement when over half the board has a financial interest in how that process is carried out. We don't have any type of knowledge or proof that it's being carried out the right way. People are recusing themselves as necessary. I know we have a policy in place for that. But like it states in the WSDA policy, can be extremely damaging to public confidence that the board and superintendent is perceived as personally benefiting from office. I've shared that with you as well, Dan. Kind of what he was talking about earlier is board spokesperson openly lying to the community. I had to go and put in a public records request to get that proof. I asked the board specifically to share the facts, and it was almost attempted to be derailed during that process. And I had to do all that just to get the facts out to show that misinformation was being spread by the board spokesperson to the community. And I don't think that's how we need to behave as adults, as school board members, as people who are trying to set a positive role model for our kids. That's not the way to go about handling business. And I guess I'm out of time, so I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks, Richard.
And that is it. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak that didn't get their signed up? Okay. All right, does anyone have any comments or questions on the consent agenda? No?
No.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nope. Okay, we're good. Committee and association reports. I think SEA, hi.
Hi. Good evening, directors.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. So I'm Brian Loomis. I'm the VP of Sultan EA, and tonight I have Pete Reilly here from the middle school to share. And I'm going to share on behalf of Emily Suter, who is our band and choir teacher. And if you got here before 6 o'clock, you might have heard them practicing. So that's where she's at, still with kiddos. But wanted to share some cool things. And we actually have a couple pictures this round. So on the first slide is just a couple from Emily Suter. And she said, in March, the Sultan Middle School band and choir students participated in the regional contest and festival. Their comments and ratings from the judges came back with high praise. First off, multiple judges said that Sultan students were the best behaved of all students participating in the event. The 7th grade band students earned a superior rating, and 8th grade students and choir, or band and choir, earned an excellent rating. They did a fantastic job on all accounts. On April 27th, our middle school band will be going to Wenatchee to the Junior Apple Blossom Parade, and the largest group of students that the marching band has had in the past 5 years. The marching band is made up of 58 students and is led by 8th grade Serenity Valensky. They will be playing Beyonce's hit Single Ladies for the judges and audience members. So all music students are gearing up for the final concert of the year on June 7th, and we would love if you were able to come support them. They're going to be playing music from popular videos including Frozen, Lord of the Rings, and Coco, and more. And then we have Pete, who's going to share a little bit about Avid.
Good evening. My name is Pete Reilly. I've been teaching at Sultan Middle School for 23 years, and this year I am the Avid site coordinator, and I also teach the 7th grade Avid class. And in the springtime, we take the Avid students on college visits. And so in March, our 8th grade students went to Cascadia in Bothell. I took the 7th graders to Lake Washington Technical College last week, and then we have the 6th graders going to Everett Community College in a couple weeks. We also took, and you can see some of the pictures here, we took all 3 groups of students down to Groeneveld's Dairy. And one of the reasons we do this is because part of Avid is about providing access to enrichment, internships, community service, service learning, and college visits. And I feel like a lot of the students don't realize some of the things that are going on around them in the community. And so some of the things that we did for this included researching topics like the role and impact of local agriculture on the community, sustainable farming, how farm-to-table agriculture works, and the role of agriculture in the community. So we took about 85 students in there to see what it's like on farm. And then also we took some students today to the food bank in Monroe to do some community service, and they did 1,000 pounds worth of food sorting, 400 pounds of onion sorting, and they washed and cleaned all the vehicles for them. And so again, all these things line up with the mission of Avid, which is to close the opportunity gap for students by preparing all students for college and career readiness and success in a global society. And I can see there's a lot of Avid students out here. We have some Avid teachers from the high school. And so I just wanted to give you kind of an update of what's going on with our Avid program in middle school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your time,
Okay.
directors. We'll be back next month with a few folks from Gold Bar.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Cameron, our student voice.
Hi, that's me. Hi, I'm Cameron Ski. I'm a junior at Sultan High School, and some things are going on in high school now. I'm gonna start with sports. That's my number one right here. Okay, so softball had a game Thursday and beat Southwoodby 17-16, which is a great win because they played really hard and they were really trying, and I think that's amazing for them. And then baseball had a game Wednesday and beat UPrep 6-5, which is a big win for them as they move forward and kind of coming near the end of their season, going into postseason. And then boys soccer had their senior night on Wednesday. And now I'm going to move into clubs. So at high school for clubs, HOSA had their annual blood drive, and I believe it went fairly well for them. I know they had some ups and downs early in the morning, but they pushed through and persevered and still got things done when they needed to get done, and still were able to get blood donations. And then for ASB, so at the high school we do Turk of the Month, and basically that's where teachers and students can vote on, from students all from 9th to 12th grade, of who they think really was outstanding during that month and just doing their best, their Turk best. And this month it was Hayden Murphy, so a big shout out to Hayden Murphy for doing his Turk best. And yeah, that's kind of what I have for this week.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Cameron.
So let's go ahead and move recognition of the Sultan High School cheer team to right now.
So, thank you guys for coming. You're making these board meetings a mainstay with all of the great work you're doing. And I think anytime young people, whether it's cheer, boys basketball, trade up, or whatever, want to take an opportunity to recognize them. And so the cheer team is here. If you guys would stand for a minute, please. Second year in a row that you've won the state championship, and that's in multiple classifications. And I think taking the time to recognize all of the good things, you know, the days and the weeks and the months come at us at just a really fast pace. And I think on behalf of the entire school district, and I'm a community member as well, just want to thank you guys for all of your hard work and all the dedication. I see them practicing constantly when I'm up at the high school, refining what they do. If you go to basketball games, you'll see them there, working at the halftime, at the various football games, etc. And I don't know if anybody wants to say anything, but we just wanted to recognize all of your accomplishments and
Catherine, you want to say something?
reaching your goals.
Do you mind if I bring my team up?
No, come on.
Let's do it.
You're like, they should be used to this by now.
I just real quickly just want to say thank you so much. I'm a crier, so if I start crying, I apologize. But no, it's happening. I'm crying. This back-to-back championship was really a dream of our three seniors. Will you guys raise your hands, please? Yeah. They won last year, and they are the only returners on the team this year. And they, from the very beginning, said that this is what they wanted to do. And honestly, as a coach, I was like, that's not happening. But they led their team all through camp, and they excelled and pushed, and then through comp season, still they're like, I really want this, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not really happening. But my gosh, the team just kind of followed. They gave it their all, and they did amazing. And honestly, all of this wouldn't be possible without our wonderful team, who follows our amazing captains, my wonderful coaching staff, and honestly, you guys are amazing. The school board, yep, I'm crying. The school board is extremely supportive. Mr. Sisterman over there is amazing. We get more support than a lot of other schools do. So I just want to say thank you very much, because besides this, we also this weekend, yep, I'm crying. We were nominated by the Washington State Coaches Association out of all of the programs in the state as Program of the Year. And from a small little 1A school, when we go to competitions and we go to camp, people know it's not going to stop. They just come. People know who we are, and it's a pretty amazing experience as a little 1A school for people. Thank you for people to know who we are and who Sultan is, and so it's something that we could not do without everybody's support. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a really great picture last year with the cheer team and the school board. Can we do that again? Okay.
Was he wrapped all the way around?
I don't know, however we did it last time, but she took it and I posted it and it was cute. Cheer, get to your normal sort of pose like here.
Kneel down that way they
Go.
you can see them. So
Do not kneel. And then like board up, just want to go on. And cheer, go down. You're all for shorties.
Catherine, what year did you start with the team?
This is my 15th year on the team. I started in on the 9-10 school year.
wow.
Okay.
Oh, I was like, where? I don't even see the camera because Christine is there.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome, got it.
Thank you.
Good job, you guys.
Everybody who knows me knows I cry.
I thought your thumb was partly over.
Before we move on to the next one, I do want to say Catherine is amazing. She, Turk Fan Club, she always comes to the meetings. She's always participating. They help with concessions and everything. So it's a big thanks to you, Catherine. Appreciate it. All right, basketball is next. Will there be crying? Okay.
No crying from Coach Trichler, right? Okay. So boys basketball, why don't you guys stand up? How many do we have in the house? Yeah. Coaches, everybody.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So I just want to take a moment to just recognize the boys varsity basketball team. For those that don't know, this year was our 3rd year going to state since, I believe, the 60s, and please correct me if I've got an issue here. In the 1960s, which was our first time, the boys team won one game, I think, and then it was about a 4-year drought until 2009, I believe, when we went to state again, and then and Mr. Trichler was the coach at that time as well. And so this year was the 3rd time of going to state, and they won a game. Very excited, fun to watch. And there's a it takes a team to do these kinds of things, and you grow together, you struggle together, and you do all of the things that make that work. But there's a real interesting fact that I wanted to just point out, in that there's 4 1,000-point scorers in Sultan High School's basketball history, and 3 of those kids are from Mr. Trichler's family. Eli and Toby, and then his daughter and their sister that graduated a few years ago. But nevertheless, you guys are just really thankful. I don't know if you want to say anything, Mr. Trichler? Or?
I'm good.
This was the first time that you guys won a game at state, right?
First time since 1961.
Awesome.
So they won the 2nd round game, but first time we won the 1st round game. So
And so Catherine mentioned that we're 1A. We're actually 2A. We're up a division now, and I'll address that in a whole different episode. But we are going to be 2A from here on out, unless our enrollment changes, but the classification change. But we're thankful. I've always looked at athletics and all of the co-curricular as a learning outside of the classroom, because there's really some rich opportunities, and we're just thankful for all of you guys and your accomplishments, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Before we move on, this is a perfect time if you don't want to stay for the meeting. You guys are done. Clear out. Thanks for coming.
you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Mike, your audience has dwindled, but you're going to be next.
Okay.
All right, we have teaching and learning updates.
Wait a minute. We didn't do trade up.
I think I'm later. Yeah, we're going back to.
Yeah, we're going to go back.
Okay. Okay, got it. I get it.
She has to wait. We just put the kids earlier. We'll make her wait.
Good evening, directors. Thank you very much for
Hi.
the opportunity to give you an update on what's happening with our highly capable program. I promised this last time I was here to, this is the new format that the state has us working on. It is, I love all the white space on the pages. I was like, well, they can read right down. So we have to report to the state what we do, and this is an annual approval of our plan. We have, if you go through and look at the details, we have a K-12 program. It starts in elementaries, and we do have kindergartners that sometimes come to us, or we actually get them tested. Usually their first year of service is in first grade, and we have I think 3 first grades this year, so 3 first graders. And so it goes through, we do, in the first grade, we do it's called the Naglieri test. It's a nonverbal test, and that helps those that have language deficits, but they also have, like for anyone that speaks another language in our schools. So we are trying to make sure that we equitably look at all students. And so we do that screening and testing in the first grade. It's about an hour total. The actual test is about 30 minutes. And then we actually do a universal screener in third grade, and we're supposed to do 2 in between grades of K and 5. And then we have a very large group that's leading the elementary level. Fifth grade, we have about 23, and that's our biggest group right now. So the report shows kind of all of the details, but I wanted to highlight a couple of those. When we get to the middle school, we do a cluster math group, and then we do, on the math side, we do pre-algebra and algebra in 7th and 8th grade. And on the ELA side, we do kind of an honors, which is a more rigorous program. We keep asking them to continue to make that rigor happen. High school is the honors in 9 and 10, and then we have AP courses, and then many of them choose other options. College and high school, running start, so all of those things, and we have lots of those kids. 141 kids in program this year, and tomorrow morning we are going to do our placement meeting. We bring all our stakeholders together and do that. So, any questions?
Cameron, any questions?
No.
Mike?
No.
Marianne?
This was about highly capable.
Yes.
Do we have any thoughts on Seattle's desire to disband? They're taking apart their highly capable and streamlining it into standard classrooms because they said it was giving white kids and Asian kids a more academic edge over other kids. So under diversity, we have no plans to do that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It is mandated by the state of Washington through OSPI that we provide these services. These are basic education rights for the highly capable students that have gone through the testing and have been identified. When families move in and they have gone through process already, we put them right into our programs. We don't make them do any type of wait. We have 141, which is under 10% of our population. That's probably down to
My kids were both in it and I saw a benefit. That's why when I saw that Seattle was taking the lead to start disbanding, I wanted kind of some feedback. Is that something that's gonna start making waves across Washington State, or is that an isolated and we are not on that bandwagon?
I think theirs is a budgetary.
I would comment on Seattle's a little bit. You're talking about the biggest district in the state. In this particular district, we qualify for about a 0.6 staff member, and that's what we end up hiring.
Okay.
You don't even generate enough funding money to do a whole program. Seattle probably has multiple teachers because they have 50,000 students.
Well,
And
my
so-
kids benefited from the
No,
program, and so
again,
I
it's just
see it as
really
positive.
it's a whole different animal, so.
Yeah, but when people start going, oh, hey, that's a good idea.
We try not to copy anything they do.
Thank goodness, thank you.
Isaac, any questions?
Nope.
I have none. Dave?
No.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a
Thanks,
good
Mike.
evening.
Dr. Douglas?
It's my wife's son.
Good evening, directors. I'll keep the brief. So, an update on, for special education this year, we were required by the state to do an audit on our transitions program. That's our 18 to 21-year-olds. And so it's taking a look at what program do we offer and how do we transition them from the high school into work beyond high school. The program focuses on both community awareness, health, independency, living, and work. We work closely with DDA, which is the Department of Development Administration, Disabilities Administration, as well as the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, DVR. So we work closely with them and place our students in DVR to have job shadows so they work out in the community and support. So as we audit that program, we're looking at what are we doing in the school district that's meeting the needs of our students in transition, and how do we collaborate with agencies that support students beyond high school. So that's occurring. We're just wrapping up our WA Kids assessment, and that is for students that have our WA Ames on the, there's Ames Web, which is program WA Ames. So we're wrapping that up. That's the version of the SBA that our students with severe disabilities take. It's about 1% of our population. And usually that is focused on the goals that they have around academics, social, adaptive, and so they're finishing up those assessments. They're more portfolio or performance-based assessments that we turn in our score to see. So And the last is we had our last PLC meeting with Solution Tree, our PLC training with Solution Tree last week. We have an incredible group of teachers and administrators taking part in that. And we're already starting to look forward to next year and planning for that, so pretty excited about that part.
Cameron, questions? Mike?
No.
Marianne?
And how did you have the job fair already, or is that still upcoming in the works?
For the transitions program,
Yeah.
they did one earlier this spring, and I know that Mark is working with the ESD and another group that contacted us today. We were trying to do a program with it's a construction boot camp, and we're trying to get enough students to do that, which allow them to do some of the construction trades up on our high school campus. So I don't know at this point whether we have enough students or not. We have a deadline coming up in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Isaac?
Nope.
I have no questions.
How many students are in this 18 to 21 age group? That are
Yeah, it varies by year to year, and right now we only have 2. The 2 students are, it's a little different for them. Most of it's for the community-based piece and the health services piece. It really is dependent upon what services and what supports parents can provide. So the 2 students that we have in there, the parents are able to provide that part, and they don't want the school to work with them on that. But they do want our connection with DDA and DVR. So both of our 2 students have job shadows. One of the students works over at the middle school. We provided a job site for that student, and DVR came in to get the job shadow. With that particular student is our hope, as I've talked with Charlie, is our hope that we hire that student. And that is actually the goal of our transitions program, that many of our students that move to the 18 to 21-year-old program actually then come back and work for us in the school district, either as a full-time employee or at least a part-time employee with benefits working through DVR. So that's our goal with the 2 that are in there. We're having another student next year that'll be joining us, and it's the same plan.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Paul.
All right, board comments. This is just a time for each board member to make a comment about possibly their role, committees they're in, or anything else they want to talk about. Do you have any comments? We'll start on this side today.
Do we have a plan for summer vacations or something? Because I'll be gone during the, just a comment there.
Okay, yeah, work that out. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. I would just like to thank my fellow board members. We've done, everybody's been so agreeable in doing workshops, and we've done 2 board retreats and learning everything, and it's really nice to have a nice group of people to work with that wants to learn and do good things. That's it. Isaac?
I second what you said.
That's not
And then I
allowed.
think the other one would be, when are we, I guess it would be a comment, getting more detail what we're gonna do at the shindig.
Okay, that'll, yeah,
That'd be
we'll
my-
discuss. Okay. Marianne, anything?
I want to remind all of my fellow board members that it's Administrative Professionals Week this week, and Kayla is doing a wonderful job in taking care of us, and I wanted to recognize that. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I brought her flowers today. I wasn't sure
That's
I'd see
awesome.
her on Wednesday, and so thank you, Kayla, for everything you do.
Mike?
Nothing at this time.
Cameron, you already had your chance. Okay. Monthly financial reports. Dan Bauer.
Good evening, directors. So I know you have a lengthy agenda today, so I'll kind of keep my comments brief. We have the enrollment for April. We have 2 more count months after this. We'll have May and June, but for the month of April, things were up. As far as traditional enrollment was up 6.67 FTE versus prior month, and for our ALE programs, 3.10 for a total gain of 9.77 versus prior month. And you can see again that the numbers that are in red are the adjusted numbers.
Did it get adjusted downward? Because I already told the board it was almost 11.
These were based on the numbers that Julie gave us from the P223. So, next page is, I have added, there was a request for and have been able to put together head count. So we typically talk a lot about FTE, full-time equivalency, because that is the driver as far as the resources, financial resources. But there's been a request to look at head count. How many bodies do we have for as far as student count? We were readily able to go back to, I was able to recreate data back to 9/10. OSPI only keeps data back 10 years, and so I actually had to look through some of the archives of prior employees to pull out some of these numbers, because this was not a metric that we track on a monthly basis, but I was able to go back to 9/10. And you can see where the head count was in 9/10, it was just north of 2,000. It dropped steadily from 9/10 all the way down to 13/14. It rebounded, kind of flattened out in 15, 16, 16, 17, that kind of zigzagged, and then obviously you have the COVID distortion in 2021 where it dropped dramatically. And then you can see it's been progressing up and then kind of flattened off in 22, 23. So that includes traditional SVO and
I went back through and looked at old board packets, and the highest I can find in the district ever is about 2150.
Okay.
That was in 2002.
Okay.
And at that time, we didn't have near the, online was not a thing, didn't have an alternative school. It was just lots of different things. You had really one option, and that was either you go to the traditional public school or you homeschool or you do something else.
We have a quick question. What happened in 13-14?
13-14 was shortly after I came on board. I came on board in 12-13. It was just the continuation of kind of a downward, the final remnants, I guess, of the housing crisis and the Great
We
Recession.
were losing, when you go up, when he gets, I think, 2 ahead of us, it'll paint a better picture, and I can give a summary of that and kind of explain, my analysis of it, and we were losing 48 kids a year.
Wow.
During that time. It was almost impossible to budget and do it.
So it puts a linear line in there. It's showing that from that time period, from 9/10 through current, a slight increase in enrollment. That red dotted line is the linear projection there. So a slight change in enrollment basically over the last 15 years, from 9/10 up through current. The next one basically breaks it out by buildings. So we had this, and this was interesting as I went through this. So basically, each colored line is for a different building. GBE is the light blue, SES is the red, SMS is the green, and I think it's purple actually, isn't it? But the SHS SVO line. So as you look at these, most buildings have been relatively flat. If you look at GBE, relatively flat. If you look at SMS, relatively flat or even somewhat declining over the last couple of years. High school, again, has been on an uptick, but still not where it was back in 9/10. The one building where we have seen the growth is this building right here. The red line is the SES line. And so you can see it's substantially above where it was back in 9/10. But the others are either flat or actually below where they were 15 years ago. So growth has been at the elementary and it has been at this building when you look at it from a district-wide perspective. SVO is down there at the bottom. There was a couple years that we did not have the SVO program, so the enrollment was 0. As we transitioned out, the SVO program during that time was at one point held off-site, and then we discontinued the program, I believe, for 2 years, and then we resurrected the program again. So I think you have 2 years in it, the enrollment is 0, but I wanted to just put that for reference purposes. I did include SHS, the high school, and SVO combined, because those activities, those kids, for the most part, were residing at the high school when they were receiving that instruction. So anyway, that's the head count for 09 through 24, and that, again, are new. I will continue to, now that I have that data in a data set, I will continue to update that on a monthly basis and make it part of my regular packet.
Yeah, the old board packets have all this info and they go way back.
Okay, and then the next ones are just the ones that we've done before this. Again, now we're switching to FTE, full-time equivalency. Okay, looking at this from comparative purpose for the same period, 9/10 through current. So chosen to, because again, I had it readily available, 9/10 through current, and we'll continue to update that on a monthly basis.
So I want to comment on this one. This is people ask that often. When the housing crisis hit, we saw crazy stuff going on with enrollment. When you did the math, we were losing an average of 48 kids a year. It was very challenging to budget during that. And I can remember thinking, do we just end up having no students, or does this end somewhere? And it, and then we had 1 month. You can go back and look where we enrolled 30 kids in a month in February or March. It doesn't happen like that. And it doesn't happen like that right now when we're building. What happened was we surveyed people that were coming in or going out is they were really having a difficult time. They were living with family. Many went to live with their family members because they lost their home, got into loans that they just couldn't do. It was an incredibly challenging time for everybody, and then you can see where it rebounds, but there's always a little bit up and down. You know, if you look at 1819 to 1920 and look at the growth that happened there, there was not, you know, necessarily a big building boom going on there. We just grew in enrollment. If you look at 14, 15 to 15, 16, you know, we grew by 130 kids in 1 year, 120. You know, just really interesting. And then you see 2021, that was COVID. That was the impact of COVID right there. So anyway, that's all I got.
Continuing on, again, just kindergarten enrollment, the 5-year, we've talked many times about the small kindergarten class that we had up in Gold Bar this year, which obviously is we're hoping an anomaly. The 23-24 numbers compared to like 22-23, significantly less. Looking next to it, the graph as far as the traditional enrollment versus budget estimate, again, updated with the April figures. You know, increasing up from where it was in September, but essentially it's been relatively flat since January. It's gone up a little bit, but essentially fairly flat, fairly consistent. The next one, ALE program, has been a little bit different as far as you've got more of a kind of a U-shape where it started out very flat, it dropped, and then now it's rising. Typically that's when we see that second semester where we see students that are having challenges in the traditional environment will matriculate over to the ALE environments. That's fairly typical of the curve that we typically see.
Dan?
Yes?
That slide, will you add an N to environment, please? When you
Oh,
update that?
my apologies. Yes, I will do that. My apologies. Okay.
Details.
All right, so continuing on, and just the next one is just the tax report. Don't need to spend time looking on that. The budget status reports, which I'm required to provide to you on a monthly basis. Again, the new format looks a little bit different. I think it's actually a little cleaner format than the old one. For general fund, $1,765,973. And again, this is as of the end of March. Fund 20, which is your capital projects fund, $1,775,554. Fund 30, your debt service fund, $127,243. Fund 40 ASB, which again is all schools together combined, $189,942. And Fund 90, which is your transportation vehicle fund, $3,454. We just purchased 2 buses, those were paid for during the month. March period, so that's why those resources dropped so significantly from where they were the month before. We wrote a warrant for close to $400,000 for the 2 buses that went out, so that went out in the month of March. All right, I went back and resurrected the exceptions reports. Again, as we moved from the Skyward program to cumulative, there wasn't a report that was exactly, so I had to kind of find a report and kind of work with it a little bit. But anyway. So this is the first attempt. We'll refine this and make it better. But this is material supplies and operating costs, non-salaries and benefits. So you can see at the top would be anything that is below proportionate share. We are 58.3% of the way through the fiscal year, your 7 of 12 months. It goes down there, it says I'm on the budget expenditure, and the difference, the colored column is the big one. Are you below 58.3% of total expenditures? Are you above 58.3? That's the linchpin. So you can see most are below. Some are above, there's a couple that are significantly above, but the total is 4.5% below. Okay, so in all areas, at this point through the end of March, material supplies and operating costs were 4.5% below proportionate share. Okay.
Before we move off of this one,
Sure.
the 2 at the bottom, they're small amounts, but the special education state, since that's such a high amount, is there?
271%.
We were talking.
That's your middle school, vocational middle school, state. So again, had a very small
No,
budget.
the special education state.
Number 21.
Oh, special education
Yeah, the other
state.
2 are small amounts,
Okay,
but
so,
percentage.
yeah, the budget in there is 759,000, so if through March you've spent 589,000, so you've spent 77.6% of your total budget through the year, and you're 58.3% of the way, so that's why that's the difference, they're 19. On a proportionate basis, they're 19.2%.
Right, but will it slow down a little bit?
It
So we'll be
really
able to catch
depends.
up or not?
The service, what goes into there typically are outside professional services. provided to students in special education for services that we cannot provide via our staff. So these would be occupational therapy, physical therapy, braillists, other services for outside providers. So.
Okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
When is that one that you had brought up, is that the one, the kid that's going to Missouri, or that's not in that?
Well, not in the state one,
Okay,
Yeah, that's in program 24.
got it.
Yeah.
no. So I got a question, Dan, on the middle school vocational.
Mhm.
When was this established?
When was what established?
This budget that you have, or the
That's
15th,
part of the F-195 that we're.
from
work-
last summer?
That we're working with this year's budget, yes. Okay.
But it was developed last summer.
Well, this time of year ago, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, about this time of year. All right, next page is looks at salaries and benefits, so basically the same thing, but now we're just looking at people, staff. And again, it's sorted in order from least below proportionate share to most above proportionate share. Middle school, vocational middle school state, again, we started a program middle of the year. Okay, this was a mid-year start as far as the voc program at the middle school. So it was not something that was budgeted, it was something that was kind of developed and implemented after the budget was put. So that's why you see this huge 1,883% overspend, okay? The others are all relatively close from that standpoint, but in all areas, we're 1.7% below proportionate share through March. Okay? Questions on those two? Like I said, I'll continue to bring those, I'll refine that a little bit, but I wanted to get these reports back in the mix with you as far as my report is concerned. Okay, the next one is fund balance. So again, we did as I just read to you for March, 1,765,973. It goes through there. Again, April is going to grow because you're going to have your spring tax collection. Then it's going to start to drop. May and June are your low apportionment months. Then you get a boost in apportionment for July and August. So that's what we're looking at right now, ending at about 575,000-ish. Again, we are refining this process. Now that we have the proportionate share, we're going to be looking at material supplies and operating costs much more closely so that we can refine that number and see if that we can make some changes in that ending balance. And then continuing on, last one would be, is if the 574,000 ends up being the number, that would put you at 1.4% of prior year's expenditures. And that is my report.
Any questions, Dave?
No.
I have none. Isaac?
None?
Marianne?
I do have a question.
Sure.
March 2024, yes, here we go. We're looking at the vocational high school, vocational middle school, and they are in red. The page says budget monitoring report, MSOC object 5,000 to 9999.
Yes.
March 2024.
Yes.
Can you expand a little bit more on the high school and middle school vocational money that was budgeted and what the year-to-date activity is driving that red factor?
So what it is that the amount budgeted for them, the amount that they have been allowed to expend has exceeded their budget. They have made some special requests for additional resources that were not part of the original F-195. The middle school, like I said, is essentially a program that was not budgeted for, that was began officially in the second semester, okay? So that one is pretty easy, is that we didn't know that we were going to have a program, therefore there was very little budget established for that.
And the percentage is high, but the dollar amount is only $3,600.
Relatively small, yes. The dollar amount, again, the percentages can be a little deceiving, you need to look at the dollars, really. As far as the high school is concerned, again, they have petitioned for some additional resources, which those additional resources have been granted.
Okay, I wanted to know if there was grant monies tied in that was a revenue stream that offset the overage and the expense.
There would be monies that are delivered for CTE that are come in through apportionment based on the number of students that you claim for CTE eligible courses, and so it would be pledged against those dollars.
Okay, thank you. Can we in the future have a little more detail on those vocational, when there's such a significant overage that it looks like that that they're not living within their budget?
Right.
And what additional revenue streams there are, what's causing, like I know that HOSA requested some additional funding, and that was one of my questions, are they part of CTE, vocational programs, and so.
So yeah, what I'll do is, like I said, those exceptions reports, I had to put them together on Friday. I wanted to get them in and get them included.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not
So I
upset,
will
I'm just
add-
saying,
I'll add-
can we in the future, as
Yep,
we.
I will refine them, and typically what I do, especially those ones that are in the red, I will be putting comments down below. But again, just in the, this particular month, I just did not have time to get them to Kayla, to get
Okay,
to you.
thank you.
But I will.
Thank you.
And just everybody remember too, if
appreciate
you
that.
have questions when you see this on, well, Wednesday or Friday, whenever we get it, you can always call and ask him too, or email him, so, yeah.
I do apologize for, my niece got married this weekend and I was the wedding coordinator, so I've been very busy the past 2 weeks, so.
Good weather.
It was gorgeous, it was out on the coast, so thank you.
Mike, any questions?
Just kind of dovetailing into what Mary Ann was talking about. The vocational, so the budget that's put in here, is that what the state has granted, or is that what we have granted as a district?
It's what we have, well, the monies are derived based on anticipated enrollment for CTE students that you can claim, okay? So we'll put in an estimate. It will drive money which is added to your apportionment revenue, 3,100. It does not come in as a separate revenue line. There are breakouts within what's called the 1191 report that show, but 3,100 becomes kind of a catch-all of multiple different types of state resources that come in. So then you can go through and set, but to answer your question, that's a district decision as far as the amount of budget capacity that are granted to them.
Okay. We can talk off, I think it's the same conversation we were talking about when we had the budget meeting then, so we really have to look at those dollars then.
Yeah.
What's gonna be. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Cameron? Okay,
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
So we've got community announcements. This is just a spot for us to kind of give a little schedule of what's coming up in the schools and the community. And Cameron has so nicely agreed, well, we kind of told her that she needed to read them off, so thank you, Cameron. Yes.
I'm used to that. Okay, so some upcoming district events. On the 24th of this month, SMS has their Sahara Pizza Night. Name of fourth grade teachers get $4.
Give the name of your fourth grade teacher, yeah.
Yeah, and then Step Up Day for fifth graders on that same day, and then 6 p.m. I believe it's 6 a.m. or 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Is it 6 p.m.? Okay, 'cause I was like, is it meant to be a.m. or p.m.? Anyway, 6 p.m. Step Up Nights at SMS. And then the 27th, SMS Band at Junior Apple Blossom Parade. And on the same night, at that night is SHS Prom, the Feather Ballroom. I know this. And then on May 2nd and 4th is the STEM Fair at the SMS building. And then May 8th is SHS Sahara Pizza Night. And then upcoming community events is on April 27th, DEA National Take Back Day from 10 to 2, Sultan Police Station. May 18th, opening day of Sultan's Farmers Market from 10 to 2. And then May 19th, Battle of the Badges from Badges 12 at SHS.
Thank you, Cameron.
Sorry, that was some copies I had.
Great.
My bad.
Great.
All right, Carissa, recap of Echo and Trade Up Fair field trips.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm here as CTE director. I just wanted to share out that back in March on March 20th, our sports medicine students, which was roughly 23, went to Echo Tour. So it's exploring careers and healthcare opportunities. If you want to go to the next slide, I added some pictures. So that's a little blurb about it. It was at Everett Community College, and they spent the day exploring healthcare careers. They enjoyed engaging in local pros, diving into hands-on activities, and just unlocking the world of healthcare. And then there were some pictures down below of they got to meet a nurse. There was 2 medical assistants. Evergreen Hospital came and spoke, and so it was a really cool opportunity. They had 3 days, and we were on the 3rd day, but there was a lot of kids in attendance from all over our Snohomish County. So that was the first field trip, and then of course the next day we went up to the Trade Up Fair in Monroe at the fairgrounds. And if you want to scroll, so every single senior, junior, and sophomore had the opportunity to sign up. It was focusing on apprenticeships. It was Granite Falls, Lake Stevens, Monroe, Snohomish. I think there was.
I don't think Lake Stevens was able to go.
Okay, yeah.
So there was upwards of 200 kids that were, and we had been working hard to get this, to have an East Valley, an East County one, because they had these trade-up events, and it was really only out on the I-5 corridor. And so this is the second year in a row doing this, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we had 39 students sign up and attend. It was an all-day event. They got a free t-shirt, pizza, which enticed them, but then they also got to learn in anywhere from cement masonry, sheet metal, and Everett was there, and they had some really cool, my CTE meeting the following week was actually at that company, and they talked about our kids and how involved they were. They were getting into the equipment and testing it out. A lot of kids came back so excited, like, I wasn't sure what I wanted, and now I really want to do this program. The sheet metal company is looking for 2 juniors or seniors, and they accept 2 from every school, but it's a pre-apprenticeship program. And so they go there for 4 weeks during the summer, 6 to 2, and learn all about sheet metal and focusing on that. And if they place in the top 5, they automatically get their name on the apprenticeship program. So when they graduate, and if they want to continue, they'll get called up to start that program with them. But that's a really awesome opportunity. We had one student last year through the RAP, I believe they said that they took, and they were super excited. They said they love taking students because they're so excited, and they're the ones that are showing up at 5:30 just to make sure they're on time to go to these. And so that was a cool opportunity for all of our students to kind of check out what they want to do. But yeah, that's the 2 main ones, and then obviously Hosa will be later, but.
Question, Chris, on the sheet metal. Have kids come forward?
We've talked with our ag teachers. I kind of gave it out to them. We have a couple of students that are thinking about it, mainly juniors, but we know some seniors that I think would be a good fit to try that program. It is an apprenticeship, so it's not paid, so it's hard for them to be like, I would miss out on a month of working during the summer, but I think it would set them up really to be successful.
Any questions? Cameron, Marianne,
I don't have any.
Isaac?
No, I'm good.
Dave?
How many companies are we working on for that CTE?
So if you go to the, back up a slide, right there. If you look at the bottom, doesn't necessarily name the companies, but the trades are there. At the bottom of that sheet.
PUD is a big one, community transit,
I don't know, for those of you that saw Sean in here, if you know Sean, he was there working, he works for Snohomish County. And so I saw him when I went down there to visit our students in action. I didn't know he was gonna be there, so it was kinda cool.
Awesome, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, update of SHS bullying and behavior.
So I think I'll handle this. We didn't get confirmation who's gonna be here. Maybe Kim can talk a little bit about the middle school. She's on kind of track, but here, one of the things that has been, I think of lots of curiosity is what has changed or improved or whatnot since the cell phone, social media, situation came into effect, and there's no doubt that there's improvement. Doesn't mean that, it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We get things reported in various ways, and when it's reported, we follow up on them. Vector is a good example. If you open up the first one, semester 1 referrals, this is data from the high school, and it talks about the different things that were reported. And it looks like semester 2, the referrals are 9. Doesn't mean that there's 9 actual events happening. Usually, sometimes when you get into them, you can determine, was the kids getting into disagreement, it's not necessarily bullying. Or Vector, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's a way that we can either get an anonymous text, email, or phone call. And so my name and Kayla's name and is Dan Ballers on it, or who?
Yes.
Yeah, Dave Moon. There's 4 of us that get those, so if it comes in over a weekend, then at least one of us gets it. Sometimes you need more information because you can't really tell what's being reported. And so let's say that I get an anonymous email that says so-and-so is bullying me or whatnot. We determine the school that it's coming from. Sometimes we need more information because it doesn't even tell us that. We don't even have student names. And so I'll email them back and say, thank you for reporting this. Can you give me some more information so that I even know where to start? Because you don't always know. And sometimes there's really good detail that comes with it. And so we'll send them out to the principals. They go and investigate. And then there's continuous updates every step of the way that come through on these Vector alerts. So when somebody does something, for example, it'll say, it's closed, it's been resolved, or whatever it is. So,
Laura had showed me these charts and like some other charts too, and just the amount of that it's decreased is just awesome this year.
So am I reading this right? We had 3 fights? Is that right?
Yes.
The way you read that, okay. But is that the high school or junior high, or?
This
That's
is
the
high school.
That's the high school.
Okay.
And is that
Add
the
that.
number of students or?
I would need her to provide the detail
Yeah.
on that. I mean, some of the anecdotal information that we've got, from the high school where we've actually heard students. I was in a mental health meeting where there's a mental health committee and we have a high school student that's on that. And she just commented, since phones and social media have been taken out, can't remember the last time she saw a fight. Doesn't mean that they don't happen. I mean, I know of one where 2 girls in a bathroom got into an issue earlier this year at the high school. But there are things that happen. But I think the point of this is to report out to where we are now. I showed you guys the reports that we get through the things that have been reported as far as wellness. It's going to go out in a newsletter. By March 15th of 2023, we had 130 reports through social media of students not being well. And with cell phones and social media being restricted on campus, same date this year, 10. So, and I think as adults, it's important that we all pay close attention to that because kids watch. And how we behave in those atmospheres, I think, is either makes it acceptable or not. And even if they don't see any adults doing things, kids experiment with different things. And we see them interacting a lot more. I'll let Kim kind of talk about the middle school experience since we were lucky enough to have her here. But go ahead, Kim.
And I just pulled up Brett's letter. So
This is just Brett's summary. There's not really any data, but if you can just share your experience with it.
So I'm obviously the assistant principal. I deal with behavior a lot. That's one of my main roles at middle school. When I first started this year, I heard a lot of students talking about being bullied in the past. As you talk to them more about it, you're trying to identify what those are. That can be a little bit challenging. But even as the year has progressed, that's really gone down. I think kids recognize that we follow up on every single report that they make or that's maybe on the behalf of somebody. And definitely getting rid of cell phones, especially at the middle school, getting rid of them at lunch. So I know that's a big difference between the middle school and the high school is that we don't allow kids to have cell phones at all during the day, even at lunchtime. And one of the things we just love is watching kids play and hang out and interact with each other at lunchtime, which is very different than what was happening before. There are still some incidences where you'll meet the kids on Friday and they'll be having a disagreement and you'll say, okay, what you're not gonna do is go home over the weekend and get on social media and get into chats with each other and cause problems, and we've had a couple of times where they go home and do exactly that. But the thing that's been cool about that is just the opportunity to talk to parents and say, you know, we don't really have control over what they do at home on the weekend. We have control over what happens at school, and we've seen a huge decrease. But we need your help at home to make sure that your kids aren't on chat, aren't doing these things with each other. And the kids have been really open with us. They share with us what's gone on over the weekend on their phones, and we can share it out with parents and say, these are the things that we need your help with at home. And parents have been super responsive in helping us monitor what's going on. So overall, we have had very few incidents that have turned out to actually be bullying. I can only actually think of 2 where we felt like we had to take action on it as a bullying harassment. So I think overall it's been going really well. I mean, we still work with middle schoolers, and so we still struggle sometimes to get along with each other and to be kind and to use the skills that we're still developing, our social skills. But we've really ramped up our social emotional learning this year too, and added in a ton of positive. We try to do way more positive things than we do discipline things, so that kids really understand that they're there to engage in the environment in a positive way. And the discipline is definitely decreased with that philosophy. So overall, I feel Riley's a teacher at the middle school too, so she can give her opinion, but overall, I feel like our students are really responding well.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Kim, for letting me put you on the spot.
No problem.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to approval of TSA trip request.
Just come up here to start with, I guess, that would have been better. All right, so we came a couple weeks ago and the kids presented to you about going to state for TSA, Technology Student Association. That's our CTSO, or our career, what does CTSO stand for? Career and Technical Student Organization, that's required as part of CTE. And 7 of our kids placed in the top 3, and so they have a space to go to nationals. And this year nationals is in Orlando, Florida. And so we are looking for board permission for them to go on that trip. It is at the end of June to the beginning of July, where they'd be flying home on July 1st. The whole board packet is there. It has exactly what it would cost for everything included. To go back a little bit to the funding and the budget and what it's looking like. So this program, in order to get the program going, we had to apply for CTE classes by October 15th. We had to submit all our frameworks, and we had to already have joined a CTSO and show that we're affiliated. So we started generating costs for having those programs, even though funding, so you apply on October 15th, you get approval, and you're then accepted to start in the 2nd semester receiving funding. So the funding didn't start, we got our first funding report in February. So we will be making up for money spent at the beginning part of the year as the rest of the year goes on. So it's a monthly report of how much money we're generating. So that will eventually offset what we've actually spent for this program. So hopefully that helps a little bit with the understanding. So in the future, the program would be started, but would be running and be receiving funds from the beginning of the year, but this is the only way to do it this year. And so we have a program for that.
To try to offset some of the costs, me and my co-advisor, Amber Hoffman, are doing the STEAM fair that was mentioned earlier. So we invite invited, all of the middle schoolers to show off their, either their arts, that they wanna show off to the community, or, anything they've engineered, or a science concept that they want to show off their understanding of. And so we're asking for $3 a person at the door, and the kids have created workshops as well as other fun things they can do. We're planning on selling concessions and things like that to try to hopefully offset some of the costs of us going to nationals.
And Cameron referenced the date, correct?
Yes,
May.
May 2nd and May 4th.
So the funding that you guys are gonna start getting, will that offset the cost of this trip, or?
It would help offset it, so we created a budget, but it was not part of the school budget, cause this program started after they had already done the budget for last year. So with what will be retained after the state will eventually take back some, cause we won't spend enough, we will have brought in a little over 18,000 through CTE that wouldn't have been there in any other way. We have spent some of that, we spent 6,000 for them to go to state. The teachers will get some extra days for all the extra time that they've put in. We took the kids to a leadership fair, at, Central in, October. So it'll be very close, but, it would be very close to the amount that we will have brought in. So, and Dan would have to give the exact numbers on all of that.
I just want to make a comment on CT in general, that we need to do sort of a rework or a remake on money generated by, the high school generates a lot more money than middle school, than they have for a while. But there's, Dan had talked a little bit about it, and I think we just need to lay it all out on the table and figure out how we're gonna take a look at, here's all the money that's generated by these programs. They pay CTE class size of 23 to 1 versus a regular high school class that's 28 to 1. And they do that because there are these extra things. The challenge that comes up, and we have to just work through this, is all of this money ends up in the general fund, just in the, if you've got $1 million, it's within that $1 million. If you've got $3 million, it's within that. If you got 500,000, it's somewhere within that as well. And so it's difficult to just separate it completely out and say, well, we're gonna, 100% of this just goes to this, because there's so much pressure on the general fund constantly. And so, but we're at a point where, Carissa and Brandy and the entire high school staff that's working on CTE, Kim and the CT folks, as we're getting this started up at the middle school, we need to get into this and dig into it and figure out a philosophy of how we're gonna do this. Because it's kind of getting lost into a black hole right now.
I think that'd be a good topic for our next budget meeting, or one of our next budget meetings, so.
This needs to occur.
All right, well, as far as this, you answered my questions. Do you have questions, Dave?
No, I believe the total that they're asking is the 8427 on the block. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I understand.
Yep.
And we are looking for other funding sources, so we hope to offset some of that. So we need approval for one, just to take the kids, because the board has to approve any out of the area overnight travel. So one, we just need approval to go on this trip, and then two, to figure out the funding would be the second part of that.
Isaac, questions? Mary Ann?
I noted of course I have questions. I noted towards the end of your application packet that there was a strict dress code for the competition. Will you let me know if anyone is unable to, and I will take care of that?
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been in talks with Elizabeth Emmons and trying to figure out a good middle ground so that everyone, that shouldn't be a reason why they can't go, is
Yeah.
because they can't figure out what to wear.
We would love your support.
Thank you.
To help us with, because
Mike?
there are kids who
Yeah.
kind of support.
I grew up one of those kids, so yeah, I get it.
Mike, questions?
No comment, I have no question, but I have a comment. You may want to reach out to the Sultan Education Foundation, Debbie Koppel.
Mhm.
She could probably help you with your efforts to try and raise some money.
Great, that's a good idea.
Next comment would be, not question the dollars that you all have. It's, I think, more dollars should be spent in those areas. So when I'm talking about budget dollars, it really should be designated and determined by all of you to make sure that you do have the funds to support these programs. So that's I think, all of our goal when we do these budget meetings to.
I agree with you guys. Dan and I have spent a lot of time going over how to do the budgeting for this and trying to figure it out, and it's kind of complicated, but we agree with them too. A good understanding of it all.
Okay, thank you.
Cameron? So can I get a motion, we'll do two, motion to approve the TSA trip request for the out-of-state travel?
I make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel for TSA at SMS at, you got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay. Then can I get a motion to approve the amount requested, which it might be less, the amount requested for the TSA trip to nationals?
You can motion it as up to if you wanted to.
Okay, yeah, let's do a motion. Can I get a motion to approve the amount, up to the amount requested for the TSA trip to nationals?
I make a motion, and we will find the money somewhere, and we will make sure Brandy's group and this
That doesn't go in
group-
the motion.
No.
No, yeah, I make a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I have a question, sorry, I just came with a question, I'm sorry. So with HOSA, I know that she's asking some of her students to kind of pitch in as they can. Are you asking the same of your students too?
They're the ones that are creating the fundraising ideas, and they've created the idea of STEAM Fair, where they can combine all of their efforts into one place.
This also doesn't include their food, so they will be responsible for paying for their food on the trip. That's something that's extra, but families typically pay for food, and we can be very creative how to make it inexpensive, like going to the grocery store and providing breakfast in the rooms and things like that.
It'll be a fun budgeting lesson.
I'd like to see if we can help with food as a board too. That you shouldn't have to have those expenses, because sometimes students and families don't necessarily have the funds to support that.
So we'll look into that. Okay, so we have a motion to approve up to the amount requested for the TSA trip to nationals. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you guys are good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie. I forgot what you're talking about, but
Update on
The floor.
thank you.
Good evening, directors. Update on the gym floor. I
What's
have
up?
a spreadsheet.
Hold on.
Basically, I have currently 4 bids. I have a 5th bid coming in tomorrow. I did background or reference checks on
There we go.
2 of them. One of them had a bad Better Business, so I didn't check their references, 'cause I don't think we want to use them.
God help.
And another one says that they can't meet the deadline, so I didn't check their references because they can't meet the deadline, we're not gonna pick them. So Northern Hardwood is one that I'm expecting references and a quote tomorrow. And I'd like to move forward.
So these in the middle here column are the gyms that they've done in the past?
Correct.
Thank you for that, Charlie.
Yep.
And it looks like Sound has got one to Monroe YMCA, which is real close.
So those top 2, when I called the references on all of them, they were all, couldn't say enough good about both of those companies.
Awesome.
What are the quotes for those two?
They're about the same, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all within a couple $1,000s.
So they did the Monroe YMCA on the Sound Hardwood.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
Bellevue. And Bellingham, okay.
Oh, I think they did 2
Western Washington or Western Oregon University. They okay?
Correct. Yep.
Those two
Branson
both
is-
look good.
They are down south.
So you get the other one tomorrow?
I guess, yeah, I'm told that I'll have a quote and some references tomorrow, to follow up, and once I have that, I'd like to meet to determine who we're gonna use and move forward as the window's getting.
Maybe jump on it.
So, maybe an ad hoc board meeting at some point?
Yeah, so
Is that right?
we'll wait till I get the information, and then, I'll let Dan know, and then Dan can reach out.
We can always do a Zoom.
Yeah.
That's easiest to do. So as soon as you get the info, let him know. We'll get it set up so we can go as quick as possible.
Okay.
Any questions for Charlie before he?
24 hours notice for special meeting.
Yeah.
No, I wanna say thank you, Dave, for grabbing onto that and wanting to review all of that documentation.
And the numbers and stuff are on there if you wanted to follow up on any of those projects. The closest one obviously is the Monroe YMCA, and that gentleman runs the, he's the me for like an area of YMCA, and he will only use, Don is the Sound Harbor Floors guy, and he uses Don for all of the re-waxing and relining of all of their floors, whether they're wood or some of them are rubber, like a racquetball or whatever.
I like that they have done 2 school districts also. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
And-
All right.
And Don is also the same guy that we use to resurface our floors and has done some striping work for us as well. He did the last sand and re-stripe at the high school.
Do we have to wait for another bid? Is it?
I think we should have 5.
Yeah, well, the
total of
provision that we
5.
used in the policy and procedure did state that we needed 5.
Got it.
And
So
so,
you can't always get that, but
Always
you know,
lots of
if you
hoops.
can, you gotta try to
Kidding, 5 seems like.
All right. Well, as soon as you get it, let him know, and then we'll do a special meeting.
sounds great.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Thank you.
Approval of HOSA fundraiser donation for EMP.
Evening directors, excuse me, someone is trying to give me the play. When I find out who it is, there might be some trouble. I came to see you a couple weeks ago and previously presented on cost projections and goals for fundraising efforts, with the end goal being to get 12 HOSA students whose teams placed 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in anatomy at state to the national competition at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, June 1st. I want to thank you at that meeting for agreeing to help us with meals and ground transportation. As you know, we had some pretty big fundraising efforts come to fruition this weekend, and I am thrilled to share with you that I am not here tonight to ask you to cover any deficit.
Wow, good job.
Wow.
But just to celebrate, okay, so I'm gonna warn you, because I do cry, but I've been snot
This
crying
is
a
the
lot.
night, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm just here to celebrate the incredible efforts, here it goes. Okay. In support of the Sultan Education Foundation, the Sky Valley Cornhole League, and some amazingly generous family members, friends, and community members who have helped us reach our fundraising goal. Through donations and a successful and crazy fun cornhole tournament and silent auction, we are ready to go to nationals. We will only need from the district what was approved at the last meeting, which is meals and ground transportation. I received registration confirmation last night of all 3 teams at the national competition, and I will be working with Sultan Education Foundation to purchase the competitors' flights from monies received this week. The remainder of the funds, once those flights are purchased, will be presented for deposit once that purchase is done. It's just faster to let them do it. We need to get those tickets done immediately while we can still get them for a pretty
Relatively
decent price.
speaking, expensive,
Yeah. Total raised in our efforts over 3 weeks was $10,400. $465.
Wow.
So, a very special thanks. She's not here tonight, to Debbie Koppel. She is like my favorite. Sorry, Mike, she's my favorite. Melody Daisy. A super special thanks to community members, Dana and Mike Fadden. They know exactly why. Thank you to our donating board members, Superintendent Chaplik. My sister bought your painting.
I didn't paint it.
For your
Would have been no
support
purchase.
of our fundraising efforts and for prioritizing the academic achievement of students in our health science programs. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's what I have.
Thank you.
So the
Good job.
remainder after flights will be here. I'm guessing it's gonna be about $5,600, which will bring in, and that will benefit students in ways like, you just heard from the middle school, kids who maybe can't afford to buy professional clothing to compete in, students that need different supports to get there. And will also, be part of our host of funds for kids next year, and I'm hoping I have national teams next year, so. We did have some crazy fun at Cornhole. If you weren't there, I don't know what you're even doing with your life, because it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Savannah, will you stand up? Savannah is one of our students she's sign me up girl. She is one of our national competitors. She also live streamed the whole event and commentated. She was amazing. And so her and all the students were there working concessions, selling mulligans, which was a hoot. Our own son dropped $80 in mulligans to beat Mayor Weta in a game of cornhole. He would not let the mayor win. So it was good. It was good.
So you don't need anything from us?
We need
this
nothing
evening?
except just to say thank you. And we did it, so.
We're proud of you.
Yay.
Thank you.
So last year, I tried to watch the event. Are we gonna be able to watch it this year?
Yes, you can watch it, yeah. It is live streamed, the event is live streamed. And so I will send a link as soon as I get that link for when we're there. They don't live stream like all of it because it is a national competition. So it's a little, like I said, bananas during the day. But when they get to the top 16, to the top 8, you can see the whole thing.
So you got 6th last year, right, in the nation?
We took 6th in the nation last year.
And I just missed being able to, I don't know. I was trying to figure it out, but couldn't quite master it.
I thought you were talking about you wanted to watch the cornhole.
No.
I did watch some of that.
He did come and watch the cornhole competition, yeah.
But I'm talking about when they're down at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, you can just click a link and watch it.
That'll be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Congrats and good luck.
Yeah, well, we definitely could not have reached this goal without a very special donation from the grandparents of a former student of mine. She called me to her home on Friday and wanted to donate, and without batting an eye, used $250,000 of her Marriott points to pay for my students' lodging.
That's awesome.
That was awesome.
It was pretty amazing. So her name is Dana Fadden, if you know her, and her husband Mike. Just hug them because they deserve it. It was pretty amazing. So we made it with their generous efforts and our fundraising efforts. We're good to go.
Very cool.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming and let us know.
Yeah.
Cameron, are you gonna cry on this one?
No, I promise.
So we have Cameron with approval of student rep Instagram account.
You want me to be up there, or do you want me? Where do you
What
want
would
me?
you prefer?
I don't care. Whatever you prefer. me to
You're
be.
fine there.
Okay. So basically, when we went to that legislative conference, way back in, when was that?
January or February?
Yeah, it was really a while ago. Talking with a lot of other reps, a lot of them had their own Instagram pages, so they could really be involved with their students and really get more of that student view to students, because a lot of times students like to listen to students more than like to listen to adults. So I thought if we had our own here, it'd be a great way to get information of what the board actually does to students in a student's eyes, and then also be able to post different things that's going around in the community, at the high school, at the middle school, at the elementary schools, to really just kind of involve both community with our schools from a student's point of view. With that, I would have access to it, and then Gigi would have it, whoever's the president at the time would have access to it. I would call it right now, just kind of the name I was thinking is SHS, student rep, and then eventually if we get another rep with me, student reps. And then underneath that like full name would be your student school board representative or representatives. And then anything I really posted, I would check with Gigi to make sure like everything I'm posting is okay and acceptable before I just start sending things out. So make sure I have approval from the president before I just post it.
Gigi, are you gonna be available for those?
Never. I
I
say
think we
like
could have a tweet every hour, right?
either myself or Kayla can help with that too. So because Kayla does the social media for
So
the
we have a
school.
backup.
Yeah.
Kayla?
I don't plan on posting without permission of anything. I would double check, I would have her double check everything before I post it.
I think it sounds a good idea.
I don't have an issue with that, so.
Mike?
No issues.
Okay. No, I have no issues, obviously.
So you need a motion?
So, yes, I need a motion to approve student representative Instagram account.
Motion to approve student representative Instagram account.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, you got it. And then she'll have some more stuff coming
Later,
up.
yeah.
Just kind of doing it a little at a time. And then we're gonna meet about getting, started on getting a second one, so. All right. Discussion of district social media strategy. This is me, isn't it? This is not to get into any kind of detail, but just to kind of get the conversation going. I think that we should get together, either a workshop or we do a committee, because I'd like Kayla to be a part of it too, to deal with how we deal with social media. To me, there's two separate issues. One is how to handle the posting of information about the district that's factually incorrect, such as someone posted an account of something happening at a school that didn't actually happen or didn't happen the way they said. And then the second one is how to interact on posts about school issues such as the bond. I have some examples of strategies I will send out to you guys. You know, do we allow district employees to comment? If we do, are there certain things that they should comment on or shouldn't comment on? Procedures for responding. Like if there is an issue, Dan knows every time I see something, he gets a text. He's probably like, oh my God, another one. But if there's something that we see that's, you know,
What are other
happening or
districts
wrong.
doing? What are other districts doing? What are some
That's one of the things that we
do?
would get to, I have some examples here,
Okay.
but that would be if we want to do it together as a board, if we want to get like a committee together to do it, and come up with a like, strategic plan for social media.
Oh, shouldn't we have a policy that addresses it first and then the plan?
It kind of goes together.
The plan would step to the policy?
Yeah, they would go together. What I've been reading is basically you would begin with the end in mind, the goals and objectives of your school board's multi-year strategic plan, and then how social media and would kind of work into that. So there's a few different ways to do it. But yeah, we need a policy, a procedure, and a plan, basically.
When you say social media, are you specifically talking about Facebook or Facebook?
All of them.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Reddit,
All of them.
TikTok,
I mean, I would love to have.
TikTok.
X, formerly
Okay.
Twitter.
I would love to
You
have
need
someone.
somebody for each one of those, right? Because I mean, they're gonna be
No,
different.
you
No.
don't
You need one
no.
plan.
One
One-
policy.
Some districts have, many do, a little bigger than us usually, they have one person that acts as a
Communication
communication
person.
specialist.
We can't afford
And-
that.
And we
Right.
we don't have somebody just designated that. Kayla does an admirable job, but we just don't throw her to the wolves when stuff is really going nuts out there.
And this really kind of when we had the bond, it was just really, really nasty out there. And I had a lot of people, you know, saying, you know, why are you the only one that's responding? And it's difficult because you want to respond when there's misinformation and everything. I think it would be great if we had just one account that could respond to all of these things and it didn't have to be any of us in particular. Because I don't even want to go on there anymore because I'm worried about what's being said to me personally.
Well, what is our official mechanism for distributing information? I mean, why would we even buy into Facebook? Just because there's already an audience there? I mean, why wouldn't we have something on our own website that says, you know, for official information, go
We
here?
do, but
And that would be
if
the way
you-
that we correspond with the public
But
instead
if
of
you
using
ignore
a-
social media, it doesn't go away, it's still there.
I
So
think
we
you're
have
flaming the
official.
fire by addressing it.
It depends on what you're addressing.
Okay.
We have an account, we have a social media account that Kayla does, and it puts out all different kinds of our events and everything like that. So that's, and then, but sometimes they'll get comments on there, or sometimes people will say things and that's not true. So that's what we need to come together and decide as a group, do we want to address any of these? Do we not want to address it? That's what we want to figure out.
I think there will always be untruths.
Yes.
It seems to me like by addressing them, you're flaming the flame.
But that's what we would get together and decide as a group what we wanted to do.
And you could have one standard statement that goes
Yes.
out to all of them, you know, and I think, I don't know, it's a complicated situation.
You're playing whack-a-mole, Dan, with
Well,
social
that's-
media.
Yeah, that's the problem. So if you think about, before any of this existed, on snow days, we used to have a phone tree, okay? That's how we did it.
Okay.
I would call this person, you know, that's how you did it. Now, people get information so many different ways, and it's one of the reasons why stuff is so messed up, is you can get caught in your own little pigeonhole on YouTube or whatever, fed whatever you want, and then just go regurgitate it. It's kind of, I mean, we're in a tough spot, and we gotta figure, not just school
Dave's
district,
quit.
but
No, I don't buy it. The premise is that you're gonna somehow legislate morals as to where people should get their information. That's up to them to choose. And for us to start feeding it through a unofficial, you know, or, you know, it seems like you're fanning the flames.
Dave,
I don't
I've
buy
been
it.
following this issue, so.
I haven't been involved.
I have been following this issue at local, state, and federal level. There's been lawsuits brought because people felt like the topic was out there on social media and they responded to it, and then the elected officials didn't like their point of view and blocked them. And so they felt like if a elected official is going to respond on social media and post their opinion on a topic, then all opinions should be eligible to be posted, not pick and choose and block. And I'm gonna use an example because this keeps coming up in the topic, how our former president will put out on social media his opinion, and he gets a lot of controversy stirred up. And he got kicked off of 2 different platforms, so he started his own company. And so he continues to put it out there. But people who disagree or have a different point of view frequently get ostracized, belittled, and then blocked. And so they're saying, the point is, if you're an elected official, you have to let people say their opinions and not block them and shut them down, even if it's your personal page. You have to let everyone have their opinion. And so there's a lot of controversy right now, and
But
so.
that's different than what we're talking about, though. We're talking about how does district distribute information. I guess what I was trying to say, Dave, is if we say we're gonna only push stuff out, let's just say we send it hard copy, I'm just picking an example, we're gonna miss a lot of people. And they'll say, well, the district doesn't communicate anything.
Well, we put it on our website.
Okay.
But people don't,
Everybody's
they're
got
not,
internet
but they're
nowadays.
not gonna go onto the web, but they say, well, we're not getting information, and I say, well, it's on the internet. Well, I don't wanna check the website, I want you to basically give it to me, that's what you,
Tell them too bad.
there's a lot of, we have to kind of go with, everything changes and grows, and we can't just say, well, I don't like social media, so I'm not gonna be on it, and then
Well,
everything else should be off.
The thing is, you know, it started with Facebook, and then now you got all these different platforms, and in 10 years, there are gonna be 3 times as many platforms. It's gonna grow exponentially. There's always a new platform coming out, adding on, and you're playing whack-a-mole with this whole thing. It's a game. So if you look at my Facebook page, well, you won't find anything, because it doesn't exist. So I have nobody can criticize me, and I don't have to listen to their crap at all. So it's like, you know, why deal with it? You don't, there's no point in us playing whack-a-mole with this thing, and I oppose that we establish this thing.
We just approved a social media segment
For our student rep.
That's why we're having
Well,
this.
And
Yeah.
let me finish real quick. So, social media at different age groups is how they get their information. They may not go to a website. Now, I don't agree with the banter. I don't agree that we should be engaging in he said, she said, whatever it may be. I think if we are using a website or using a Facebook or Instagram, it's there to post great things like we see here. We just had, you know, great basketball. Well, you know, we had our cheerleading group. We can put out all the great things that our district's doing and then share correct information, but I don't personally think that any one of us on the board should go back while we are an elected official and reply back to any type of social media. I think it should come through one voice, that's my opinion. And being in other corporations, we have that media person that would help edit some of our feelings and making sure it was a positive spin going back out to the community. Now, we don't have those funds, but I do think that we need to have some sort of policy around how we reply, so we don't get caught in the spiral.
So you
But we
think
are,
it should
we are.
reply, though?
I'm not saying that we should, I think if anything, we can post, here's what's going on in our district.
Yes.
And if it's a bond measure, then we put out, if we constantly see things or if people are reporting, hey, do you see what's going on? Great, we'll post the facts again. That's all we'll do. We don't, I mean, even if it's a reply, yeah, it's just putting the information out there. It's not say, hey, Joe Smith, here's the facts. It's, here's a good fact sheet of the bond that we are trying to run in the future. It shouldn't be pointed at any one person or any one group.
Or
I think-
reply to any one
Yeah, I
post.
think it should be here's our platform, and here's the information, here's how we're gonna share it, no matter how many people are coming at us with pitchforks and, you know.
And that's exactly what I want to do. And
So
that's
but
exactly
I
what
think we
should
can't
do.
ignore it, we have to at least have a presence, because some of the generation that's coming up, the younger generation that are having some of the kids that are coming into our district,
You've made a
that
valid
is
point.
that's all they know right now.
I'm a lurker. I frequently refrain from responding, even when people have bashed me in the past. It's hard, but you get used to it.
There's
You get a
an
thick skin.
impact of it too. Some people, I've had people come to me and say, gosh, I didn't realize, you know, how much disinformation, purposely false information was posted, you know?
But I agree, I think some people, they look for that to fan their flames a little bit and help their platform. But if we just come back, don't say anybody by name or any group by name.
I like the idea of if we do see that disinformation, that our post would be, the reply to that would be the link or something, nope, here's the facts. But no personal talking, no, all that.
Or just a link to the district's
And this
page.
isn't
If-
something
if
for us
these
to
are good.
decide tonight. This is
Okay.
just kind of a throwing it out there that we need to do this,
And it
I
has to be
think.
addressed,
And
because
we
that is a
need- yeah.
mainstream.
We need
Okay.
a policy, we need a procedure, and we need a plan.
So we need a workshop to discuss it.
Hey, I
Another
love all the
story.
workshops.
Mary Ann, or
That's the only way
who
we get
wants
to
to
Have it
do
on social media.
We'll do a
I'll lurk,
Facebook
but I'm not
Live.
responding.
Okay.
You know,
All
one
right.
of the things I did a few years ago, just because it was a couple years ago, is I joined a page in Ording. I joined about 4 or 5 different ones because I just was, as a lurker, which I was kind of depressing, feeling like, you know, somebody's moving in here and they're trying to find something, they just get attacked. I mean, it just, I mean, this is,
That's why I'm not
it's just
doing it.
awful watching, it's embarrassing watching
Oh, it
it.
is.
But I don't know that I've ever
businesses, new
seen
people,
any
it's
pages
awful.
worse than they are in this community, to be honest with you.
Horrible, horrible. Okay, so we'll get something worked out and get started on that.
Because you're
So-
not there, and that's the best way to do it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Russ would be like, he's like, I don't have, you know, but just, it's there and it's like, it's always gonna be there and we have to address it, so.
But in a way that doesn't promote controversy or
Correct.
doesn't engage in a, you know, less than representative way that we would wanna do it regardless of what somebody's saying.
Yes. Okay, discussion of MOU with the Volunteers of America.
So Paul and I are busy on this, so what you have here is a, oh, I'm gonna wait for Caleb, apologize. This is an extension of board's goal and focus on early learning. And so we have entered into an agreement with Volunteers of America to, I'll let Paul, if you want to give some of the detail, and Adelia, if you want to talk as well, to move our developmental preschool over to that campus over there. Do a couple things. It'll allow for the right kind of peer interaction to occur. So kids are you know, interacting with different peers in different places. It increases our focus on the importance of early learning, because one of the things that historically has been a challenge is looking at kindergarten ready data. You know, it's lower in this valley. It's lower in those that are coming into our school system, and we want to you know, have those things working and engage with young kids sooner rather than later. So, you want to add anything to that, Paul?
Just to add, there's also the legal side of it under IDEA, especially the state component, is to ensure that our preschool age kids are also exposed to the same curriculum that their same age peers are. And that we haven't been able to see that realization because we haven't had the opportunity. This gives us that opportunity to do so. It also adds the mentor, like Dan said, the mentoring component. We've seen this year, and Adelia can speak to this, but in our paid preschool program, when those students came into the developmental preschool program, our students were learning that model behavior presented by their same age peers. And it helps both populations learn from each other. One group to accept students that are different, the other one to learn how model behavior is, both social as well as academic. So this gives us that opportunity. It also gives us the opportunity to work with a organization in our community that is helping us raise students. And by working with them directly, we're able to share some of the enrichment curriculum around WA Kids data, which is the WAKISH framework, and the readiness for kindergarten. So we're able to provide some of that during that same time. So we expect that we'll see more students excelling being ready for kindergarten. And instead of going to the path of, say, special education, they may be able to go straight into general ed with that extra guidance and work with their peers. So it's a real beneficial program. We're really looking forward to it. Delia's been on me for 3 years. We probably get the opportunity to do it. Go ahead, Del.
So I just want to start and say both of my children went to Sultan School District. Before I ever became a teacher, my son was in this program. And back then, 20 years ago, we had typically developing children with these children. My daughter was in this program as a peer model back then. And my son, he's very successful. He still lives at home. He's legally blind. He's high functioning autism. He has a job. He has a huge savings account. And then my daughter, she learned from this program as well. My daughter is an SLP for the district right now. And she was in the program too, but as a model. And I don't know why Sultan went backwards instead of going forward on this, but they did away with inclusion. And inclusion is good. We need to make these opportunities for our special ed kids as well as our typically developing kids. And we need to get back on track and do that.
When did it go away?
I'm not sure, sometime after, my son's 25 and my daughter's 26. Mary Ann knows my kids.
Goldboro Elementary.
Yeah, Kelsey and Keegan Franklin. And they're good kids. But I think it went away like a couple years after Keegan was in So probably, it's been like 18 years ago, probably went away.
Wow.
And, you know, there's been a couple times this year where I've been asked to take in the tuition-based students because there's not a sub for their teacher, and they come into my program, and they're with my kiddos for the day, and it is truly amazing to watch the tuition-based children and my students interact. It's just,
Oh, yeah.
It's just awesome. It makes me want to cry. It's great. And a lot of times too, it's just good to mix kids. It's a federal law, we're supposed to be doing it, right?
Federal landscape.
Yeah.
Well, I think the MOU, I didn't see anything glaring that,
This is
First it
draft,
out.
what it's waiting on is a review by Snohomish County. And so I just wanted to show you all of the changes in
yeah,
it.
yeah. But I think as a whole, Cameron, do you have any questions or comments on this, Mike?
No.
Marianne?
I'm looking at number 4, Sultan School District responsibilities, provide a lead certificated special education preschool teacher, and 3, it changes from 2 to 3. Special education para-educators, all full-time. So the district is paying for those, and
It's what we're currently doing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's our current staffing.
That's
There's
my
no change
staffing in my program now.
It's 3, should be 3.
it is 3, okay, because 2 is crossed out and 3 is right in.
It's 3.
written.
Yeah, it's 3.
Okay.
What I want to say though is we are going, okay, so currently, I have anywhere, some classes I have 13, some classes I have 14. 14 and all the students are on IEPs. ECAP is talking about 20 students, and that would be a mixture of about half my students and about half their students. However, any student that's on an IEP can be their student too. And we had originally talked about one lead teacher and one of their assistants, and then one of my paras, my old paras, of course. I mean, they're leaving, you know, we want to separate, but it'd be one in the all-day class, and then one in the AM class and one in the PM class. So, because there's going to be 3 classrooms. We're going to move from an AM, PM of my program to an AM, PM, and an all-day class.
And then are those gonna stay on this campus or move over to the
We're all
VOA?
moving over there.
Okay. That's what I thought I'd heard, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure.
And then, so what I'm hoping to do is, 20 students is a lot of students regardless of if it's only half special needs and half not. That's a lot of preschoolers.
Yeah.
And right now, in my classroom, there's 4 of us. So anything less than 3 or 4, it's not gonna work. 3 or 4 adults in that room.
Any other questions, Marianne?
No.
Isaac?
No, I think sounds good.
I have none. Dave?
So this will return in a more finalized form once
Yeah.
it's been done.
Okay.
And hopefully that'll happen at our next meeting, but I can't guarantee.
Thank you, and thank you for giving more information too. I appreciate that.
And you're excited about it, Adelia?
Yes, I am. I've been pushing for it for a while. I wanted it to happen because I see how great it is, and, you know, from experience as a parent with my kids.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have follow-up discussion from the budget retreat. Did we just want to talk about what our next steps are, or?
Yeah, I think a couple parts, just people have had a couple days to reflect now, or 4 days, 3 or 4 days, thoughts that emerged. What we're gonna do now that we're continuing to drill down on this is we've had 8 resignations, retirements, just people that are there, and so when you look at you know, what do you need to fill and what do you not need to fill, and you look at some of the budget data that Dan presented, we will not necessarily fill all of those positions. And so, but you can't just say, well, 8 people retired, we're just not gonna fill it. It doesn't work that way, because you have credits required in different things. It's tied together with the enrollment growth that we projected that didn't happen this year. Stayed, pretty flat, but it was quite a ways under what we had budgeted. And so really it's a time, for the board members to say, hey, do you wanna follow up on this? I've talked a little bit about needing to follow up on CTE and make sure that we have a more transparent understanding of what's generated, what can we budget, all that. We will, Paul and I and Dan were talking on Wednesday, we're gonna expand our regular meeting and actually look at some of the staffing positions that have been pulled out. And if we put them back in only part-time, or who else has some of those endorsements that can teach those subject areas, what does it look like? And how many kids would there be in per class and all that kind of thing? Because what happened with this situation where we didn't grow by this 70 or 80 that we did is we've got some classes that are lower than we would want. And you can't do that forever. It's, in this business, enrollment is what generates revenue, and you have to balance your staffing efforts with that, or you end up having a problem. And if we don't address it, we will have a problem.
Or are you gonna put something together, so with recommendations as to what that
Yes.
would look like?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
So the question was, are we gonna put something together with the recommendations? The answer is yes. It's still in kind of the information and data collecting. Part of it was meeting with you guys and giving you an update so you can share your own opinions. Met with the association a little bit today, talked about it. We'll meet with the principals hopefully later this week. I'm not sure that's gonna be 100% possible with everybody, but that's the plan. And we've got kids signing up for courses, I think, as we speak at the high school. And so we'll look and see what the result of that is, because there's a couple of different numbers that end up. We set the budgeted number, which is based on, a mathematical sort of forecast based on what history has told us and what we get from Flow Analytics and those folks, and then there's just rolling the kids forward. And we use ours, which is a forecasted model, because on the more conservative side of things, you can add staff after you get started. You can't take staff away once you're started. If you have, so for example, let's say, usually enrollment is pretty close. This last year, just based on all the factors going on, we budgeted for growth. Growth didn't happen the way we saw it. This building, for example, though, continues to grow. And so had we, and that's one of the reasons why we've got to address it this year, is because we didn't experience that growth. So taking 80 kids out of the mix, financially it's a big hit, it's huge.
Well, I know Mike's agreed to go to your Wednesday meetings, right? So
Yep.
we have board presence
Yep.
there. And then do we want to have another board retreat once we get more salary and the MSOX information?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was very productive.
Very.
last week.
And I think the other reason to have this on this agenda is any questions emerge that you feel like you really want to address, or things you want followed up on a little bit more to bring clarity to some things that maybe weren't as clear as they needed to be then.
Well, I know from then we wanted information on MSOX. We wanted information on the salaries, moving people around and things like that. Was there other items that
I
came to mind?
am still mulling around what Jeff said about Fs and what we need to visit what is being done at the middle school, and what is it, 8th grade promotion? It's not graduation, 8th grade promotion. How many of our 8th graders are successfully coming out of the middle school and in a position to move on to the high school where they can pass classes and not fail half of their classes their freshman year because they're so overwhelmed and they don't have the skill sets.
Yeah, they need to
move
catch
on.
up at some point. You can't
Yeah,
just continually fail them.
Yeah, and so I'm
Well, it is
kinda
kind of the middle of
curious.
the year too, so a lot of those get cleaned up by the end.
Clean up how?
not, they don't have an F, they
just
turn their
have a
grades in.
Light bulb goes on in their head, I mean.
They turn their assignments in, most of them.
A lot of kids like to wait till last.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
And
bad.
the teachers
Truly
are way,
enough.
the teachers are way more relaxed about when you turn things in compared to when I was in school. I mean, you didn't have to end by the time, you just gotta
I
have.
think COVID changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my kid who's got decent grades, I freak out in the middle of the, every other week, cause I see Ds and stuff, and then he turns everything, he's back to ABs. So it's a big,
Nice.
it's
I think I'm just
huge.
looking at, we're, 2 months away from the end of the school year,
And I think
And-
that's a great conversation for us to have,
going,
that's,
wow,
yeah.
that's,
but
Well,
not,
you
maybe
could
not necessarily
bring the
budget
principals and they
related.
can explain a little bit how that whole process works.
and I think that that's what I wanna know more of. Is this a standard, is this a cycle that happens every year, or is there a point where we can interject some?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a number of factors that,
Yeah.
That'd be a separate
But
subject.
that's, we're
outside of
trying to
the-
do budget.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It's a
but that ties
budget.
into the budget on what resources we can provide and budget for it.
Mike, was there anything?
I know that
forgetting?
when we left, we talked about breaking it down, having principals, with part of the budget committee, and I know that some of us had a side session about, different areas like CTE, and talking about Paul and Mike, do they have their own budget, should they be in charge of those? Is that something that we want to go forward with, or we wanna just keep it at the principal level, or should people that have different programs also be
Part of it.
involved in their budgetary planning?
I think involved, I mean, personally, I think the principals should be in charge, I think CTE should be in charge, and then the rest, I'm not really sure personally, but that's a good thing that we should discuss.
And I've considered, should we, when we do have meetings with principals, should we include their admin secretaries? Because most of them, what I heard was their admin secretary runs the report and gives them the data. The principals don't do that themselves. And so there's perhaps some information in there, that would help with the process. Things
Cameron,
that they don't.
Cameron's got her
Yeah,
hand up
sorry.
for our.
The high school does have resources, like they started this new thing called Refuse to Fail Friday, where they, teachers assign students, if they're failing their class, to go to the library and work on the work they need
And
to
you
get
have
done.
to come in on
They
Friday,
have to, or
yes.
they will get detention if they don't, kind of thing. And it will keep being reassigned, and more detentions will be required and added to your sentence until you do what's expected of you. So the high school, I know, does have resources for it, but the high school, it's a cycle. The F's is a cycle at the high school. Kids like to turn in things late. They really do. They're like, oh, I have all this time, because nowadays teachers are very lenient of when we turn in things, and they don't really take away points for lateness. And if they do, the worst you can get is a C on an assignment. That's the worst you can do, because that's 70%. That's, you turn it in late, that's the worst you can get, kind of thing.
And like an overall grading
Yeah, my two
plan is
summer
something that
teachers,
Dan has talked
you
about,
turn
that
in
he
late,
really would
the
like to get
most one you
everybody
get
on the
70%.
same page as far as
Mhm.
grading, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's-
go through.
so if I look at a grade,
Mhm.
do I even know how they're doing in that subject area, or is it because of behavior, is it because of absences, is it
With our
because
F's,
of?
He's
it's
brought this
cycle.
up a lot,
It's
so.
cycle.
I know
yeah.
in
Kids are-
previous, when I've served on the board previously during COVID, we did make an exception to late work. Whether that has been refined or relooked at, maybe not, and maybe it's time to go back and look at that and.
I agree.
It's another workshop.
Don't worry, I know some teachers that still really hammer down on late, it's late, you can't turn it in again, but I still have some teachers fairly lenient on their late work, which I guess, it's I appreciate it at times, especially when things happen, but
Because moving forward, that's not healthy for their
No.
mindset, because
No.
work
No.
doesn't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
preparing the real
But that's
world.
what,
But
if
that's-
we wanna make them workforce ready,
Yeah, we
we
need
need
to
to
step that
change
up.
their way of thinking.
All right, well, let's finish the budget
But the
part.
bottom line is, grading wise, I wanna know what the kids are doing on the standards. If they're getting a D, then that should tell me that they're doing, that content wise on the standards for that course, they're getting a D in it. And I
And we
can't
talked,
always
like,
tell that.
PLCs can help with that too, so there's a lot to go into it, so. But let's finish up budget.
Budget.
So we've given you some information. We would like to get something together when you have,
Okay.
MSOC and, salary information.
And Dan is gonna create a way to look at the MSOC stuff, correct?
We're gonna, that's the next thing, as we said on Thursday, is that I put together the exceptions report on Friday, the one that was shared with you earlier tonight, so that will be a jumping off point to look at things.
So
more.
what can we control and what can't we?
Yeah.
You know, like today, we were talking and our next insurance payment is going out next week. Can't control that, have to pay it.
It'd be good almost to break up MSOCs into, you know, manageable or non-manageable.
Must-haves and.
And then I sent you a bunch of documents. Did anybody get a chance to look at those?
Briefly.
Yeah, they have some, I think there's some information you can glean from those.
We also want to make sure that our directive on a policy for the principals, we can start with that, I think, having say over their budget and not having to get approval for those items, we do want to see that policy started.
Did any of the principals talk to you after our meeting, like, they like the fact that they were there? Or nothing was said?
Nobody said anything. I think, I don't know, I hope people don't think that we just leave them out. We're
No.
pretty inclusive.
All right.
We try to involve people there. I don't, like I said, I haven't seen a building budget be overspent in years.
They were happy to be able to spend their, like, not have to get approval. I
Yeah.
got a couple
Good.
messages for that.
Yeah,
so.
don't we need a policy change for that, or?
That's just something we need them to, they need to come up with a policy and
Alright.
present that to us, so. All right, anything else about that? Okay, grant committee update.
So far, we're a committee of one. It's a work in progress.
Gigi's name is on here, not yours, Mary
Oh.
Lynn.
Shouldn't be my name.
That's, I did see that and went, well, I think she means me.
Not
Oh,
me.
okay. She just wants to put her name on it.
I don't.
So, I had an opportunity to
Layla.
go and meet with Dan. I think it was towards the end of, it was when I got back from Kansas City, the spring break here. I was introduced to the Green Lights Grant Initiative. I was really intrigued. Matthew and Camille, his wife, McConaughey, the actor, was from Uvalde, Texas. And following the shooting there, he got frustrated with how hard it is for school districts to access. There's a lot of grant money out there, but there's no clearinghouse, like
Right.
Publishers Clearinghouse. So him and his wife created the Green Lights Grants Initiative so that they could become the Publishers Clearinghouse of all federal grants.
Nice.
And so Dan and I kind of brainstormed what is the most important things that we want to look for, and our facilities, student and staff safety, and mental health were like the top three. And so I did get registered with the Green Light Grants Initiative, and I recently just got notification that these ones have come online, these three. Mental Health Professional Demonstration Grant, the deadline is May 15th, it's $19 million, and there's 23 to 33 grants to be awarded, so I'm gonna look into that one. And when I say the deadline, that's like a pre-application, that's brainstorming on what the intent of the grant is and how that would fit in with those top three priorities that we identified. The second one was school-based mental health services. That deadline was April 30th, $19 million, 25 grants to be awarded. Again, looking
Right
at,
around the corner.
huh?
That's right around the corner.
Yeah, and those are the pre-application. If you get accepted in the pre-application, then you move forward in a full, and so it's not like you do all of this work at first and spend hours and hours. You develop your project based on what they are wanting to fund. And so the third one is Office of Justice Programs and Bureau of Justice Assistance. And that's micro grants for school safety and security. That deadline is 6/11, and that was up to $500,000 over 3 years, and they intend to award 205 grants. And that was specifically for safety and security, like training programs, personnel liaisons between your schools and law enforcement. So these very much fit into what I registered as our top three, and so I want to continue on this track. And at one point, as we get a more defined of what this group is and what specifically we want, include a few more people. I think 3 would be a good working number to work together to identify and pursue some of these grants.
So how do we get you people? What do you want to, do you want another board member on there? Do you want,
I got a question, Mariana, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just, how do we just get our people so you can actually have your committee?
Can we do that by June, the end of this school year? And because the fall is when they really start doing their push. So pre-grants towards the end of this school year, working if you're progressing through during the summer, and then a big push for announcements in the fall for the new school year.
Well, do you want Kayla to send something out? Like, are you interested in being on the grant committee?
Yeah, I would really like Carissa Kelly to be on my committee with me because she's already doing stuff. And so one other person, because it is essentially, I mean, Carissa is paid staff salary, but me and somebody else, school board would be great, or.
What about like just a parent? from the
I would
community?
love,
Yeah.
love that.
So do you
and
want
so-
Kayla to send something out?
Yes.
Looking for,
Yes, can we do that though, not immediately now, like, let's get through our next meeting and then target right towards the end of the school year.
Question, Marianne.
Yes.
Was there any way to tell in these grants if there's like low-hanging fruit, like anybody that applies for this grant receives it? I mean, is there any grants like that, or how do they dice them up? I mean, it seems like
Well,
if there's grants out there that all you gotta do is apply for them and you get them, is there low-hanging fruit like that we should be doing, other than the top 3?
I don't know, I'm still learning, and one of the things that I asked Dan was if I want to take some online classes, and there was a pay to Zoom to take this training opportunity, and he said, yes, go ahead. Because this Greenlight Grants Initiative, they do have training available, and they have technical expertise to help you in developing your
And
training.
we looked into the Department of Commerce,
Mhm.
early childhood facility kind
And,
of thing.
and the Greenlight Grant Initiative, like I said, they're a clearinghouse. And so instead of having to go this one and this one and this one, it seems like if you go through them, they'll hook you up to all these different they are collecting all of this data and making it much easier, so.
And I was gonna say, on the first couple you mentioned, just the dollar amounts you mentioned, 25 grants, $30 million. I'm wondering if those are, you get more strength in approaching it from a consortium of school districts.
Well, and
rather
some of
than-
them, if you were awarded, some of them, if you got $1 million, it wasn't $1 million all in a single year. It was like spaced out over 5, so there was very specific. And I did see the micro grant one had very specific on what the district had to say, we approve and will fund, and then they would like just be the icing on the top of the cupcake. It wasn't, that's why they called them micro grants and not a full grant. There was a lot of commitment financially and staff-wise for some of them. So I'm learning and I'll continue to learn more, and that's why I'm saying, don't throw staff at me. I wanna go through some more training. I've talked to Donna Murphy, I've read a lot online, and wanna get more educated to be effective.
we're gonna butter her up and see if Carissa will be in.
Well, fortunately for me, Carissa used to live right across the street from me, so I already like her, so.
I like coffee, so.
So do I, yay.
Any questions on grant committee? Thank you for taking it on, I
That
appreciate it.
was awesome, Marianne.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we are, a couple things left. First read of policy 5400, personal leaves. Did anyone have any questions on this one, Dave?
Sorry, I was reading
Oh.
the Green Lights Initiative grant. Thanks. Say
We'll come
that
back
again?
to you. The personal leaves, policy 5400. Did you have any questions or comments?
No.
I had no questions or comments. Isaac?
No.
Marianne?
I love that the word shall was changed to will.
They've been doing that on all of them, yes.
I've been in enough governmental agencies to know when you leave it up to people with words like shall, they shall not do it.
Mike?
One of the previous board members will always change everything from will to shall, so just, there's gonna be a few coming up, so, I'll let you know.
Was that you?
No, it was not me.
Okay, I just,
It used to sit in your seat, so.
Any questions?
Are these all in accordance to state regulation, I'm assuming? If we look at personal leaves?
You know, the thing that jumped out at me is the unpaid leave. You know,
Yeah.
sort of there's a couple of parts to this, and we have, historically, there are some unusual things that come up in people's lives, where they might have a military graduation or a marriage across the country or whatever. It's important to remember that people get personal leave and sick leave, and so we have tended to grant the one-time exceptions for those that aren't in bad standing. When I say bad standing is, I'll get a call from the payroll office occasionally and somebody is at the end of their leave, don't have any more sick leave left, they're sick. And so, what do you do? So you either you grant it, and we've tended to not grant the unpaid leave in situations where people haven't managed their leave appropriately.
Right.
Because what I've found, you know, when you're supervising 250 or 300 people is 10 days will get used by some folks. If the leave was 20, all 20 will get used. If it's 30, all 30 will get used, and some are up against it all the time. It's a minor few. I don't want to be committed to having to do this in any circumstance, but I think in fairness to people, there are some, you know, people that work really hard that have unusual events come up, and we grant the unpaid leave in those occasions and say no in other ones.
That's options, so.
So the next question would be, are we still mandating vaccines?
I haven't had a conversation with anybody about a vaccine in I don't know how long.
It's in here that we grant. I didn't know if the governor has removed that, so now it's just classified as a cold,
Yeah.
so. Didn't know if that was still
under H, unpaid leaves.
under H, yes, it's actually G, but it's crossed out.
Oh yeah, G has been crossed out.
So are we removing that, or are we saying that? I would like to have it removed, but it's kind of unclear. G is crossed out.
Just because there's a different G up above,
Yeah,
and then there's
okay,
no
that's what I'm
H,
kinda
yeah,
wondering.
so
I
maybe,
didn't know if there was still a mandate for,
can we find out about that? Is there a
Yeah,
mandate still?
I don't think there is.
I'm saying if it is, then just get rid of it completely, just remove it from the unpaid, that way it's not there.
I know that the federal level, the military, they've lifted it, and they have let those that were on a timeout for not being vaccinated have returned to full-time regular position.
Exactly, that's why, I thought I'd just ask that question,
Yeah.
so.
Well, can you find out before we do a second read?
Yep.
Anything else, guys? No? All right, can I get a motion to approve the first read of policy 5400 personal leaves?
I make a motion to approve policy 5400 personnel leaves.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, first draft. So now we have first draft of sick leave. The thing that jumped out at me on this was 180 days that you can accumulate. That's a lot of,
I know somebody
Days.
that has
Yeah, you
a
can
full,
build up that many?
it's, yeah.
My wife's got a lot.
my husband has that full as a government employee,
That's crazy
180
to me.
days. If he gets cancer, he'll still get paid.
Other than that shock, did anyone have any, Dave, did you have anything on this one?
I shan't make a comment.
What's in that Coke of yours? I had, besides that, and then obviously we're gonna insert the point of contact where it says that. Did you have anything,
No?
Mary Ann?
I just want you guys to know, do you know how many days per school year employees get of sick leave?
No, I do.
12.
They get 12. So I want you to think about that. How many months are in a year?
1 day a month.
But the school year is not 260 working days, it's 180 working days. And so on top of that 12 sick days, they get 12 paid vacation days as well. And they get 3 paid personal days.
They have vacation days?
Holidays.
Mary
The
Ann,
260-day employees.
You're
Got it.
mixing lots of employee groups
Oh, yeah,
together here.
yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
it's not, and there's pieces of that by themselves that are true, but altogether, not factual.
Okay.
But part of this is also, is it in their negotiated contract?
Yes.
So anything in the sick leave, is it in conflict with the
They
contract?
call it annual leave in the contract,
Okay.
is what they call it. I don't know why they changed the name. I think that was a legal change. I'm a little surprised it's not referred to as annual leave in here.
So that was some of my questions, just, you know, how, so if we require a doctor's note for after 5 days, which is stated in here, I know that outside of the school district, you're not allowed to ask why people are gone. I mean, you can put a certain length in there to, but requiring doctor's notes, I know, started to be frowned upon when they started to do it in the state paid sick leave. So I just want to make sure that we're within
So I always ask for
legality.
doctor's notes, but that wasn't in Washington State, so yeah.
Well, I don't think the doctor's excuse has to say why. Sick.
You're not even supposed to ask people why they're sick. You're not, if somebody calls in general public, just you are not to ask them, why are you sick today, or why are you not coming in today? All they have to do is say, I'm calling in sick today.
I guess I'm confusing that with asking for a doctor's note.
You can put it into a policy, but there was a lot of verbiage that came out from the state of Washington on requesting doctor's notes. And part of it is somebody can be gone for 3 days and you can't even ask them why.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it as well.
So we just have to be really careful by putting this in. If we're putting it in as a policy, I just want to make sure it's not in
It's a legal
conflict with
policy,
a
right.
WAC
So
code that we have
before we do
currently.
second read, can you double check on that we should even have that in there at all?
Those are just-
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can know that, Kayla.
Okay. Cameron, did you have any questions on sick leave? All right,
Are you
can I
sure?
get a motion to approve first read of policy 5401, sick leave?
I'll do it, okay.
I move.
I move to motion policy number
First read.
5401, first read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right. Policies for 528, 24, just so we know, are going to be 5404 and 6100. And we can just look at those ahead of time before the next meeting. No one needs to say anything else about those. Superintendent's report. We're at 2.5 hours now. No pressure to be.
Newsletter goes out tomorrow, update on several things, including survey for the bond.
Okay.
Other than that, I think we've covered everything that I would report. I was gonna send an update over the weekend, but I was just supposed to go over the weekends. So I thought the celebration or ribbon cutting of the Transportation Cooperative went well.
Yeah, it did.
Very positive, and I think one of the things to just keep reminding people is that it'll be paid off at the end of 2026, which I think is a real positive.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we have an executive session
Executive
for
session.
about how long do you think?
20 minutes,
Okay, so let's do,
collective bargaining, evaluation of
okay.
the personnel.
so let's do a couple minutes for a break. So 8:30, we will come back for executive session. So I need a motion to, what are we doing right now?
Motion to take a break.
To
Recess.
adjourn the regular meeting prior to the executive session.
I motion to adjourn the regular meeting prior to the executive session.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll come back at 8:30 and then it will be for 20 minutes.
Chuck Lee. He's requesting a public records request by, what's his name? This is
Sorry.
caught in the middle of this thing.